What I'm about to share is not fluffy relationship advice. These are the make or break habits that either strengthen your marriage or destroy it. And that sounds really harsh, but I am keeping it real because after working with women and couples for years, I can tell you it is not the big fights or the lack of date nights that kills your connection. It's the small daily habits that we don't even realize we're doing. And I know that you want to feel seen and valued and appreciated by your husband. So let's get you there. I am Lindsay. This is Loving with Intention. Let's dive in to these 5 habits and just wait until you hear number 5 because I used to think it was helping my relationship until I realized it was creating more distance than I ever could have imagined. So the first habit we are launching in, this habit is one that most women that I work with, they say they absolutely do this, and I used to do it every single morning without even thinking twice about it. So picture this. Super busy morning, you are rushing out the door and you just yell a quick goodbye. Your husband's in the other room, you're juggling your coffee and your keys. I totally get it because mornings can be total chaos, especially if you're getting kids out the door, maybe if you have pets to feed, there's so much going on. And this tiny moment actually matters more than any hour-long date night that you could have in the week. When you pause for this intentional moment to focus on your husband and say goodbye, you maybe give him a genuine hug, you say an I love you say have a great day. I am talking 20 seconds here. You are literally priming the rest of your day for connection. Reunions and departures, these good mornings, good nights, hellos, and goodbyes, these are high impact moments for connection. When you do this, you will be amazed at how this tiny shift can change the entire tone for your day instead of priming your day with stress, busyness, and disconnection. And the second habit, this one is probably pretty close to you right now, if you're not already staring at it. You are finally sitting down at the end of a long day, scrolling on your phone with your husband sitting on the couch next to you. You're exhausted. You want to zone out. You want to decompress. And honestly, sometimes that is exactly what you need to do. And here's what often happens in these little moments day after day. You're both physically present, but emotionally you are miles apart. Your husband says something to you and you barely look up from your phone and you are just mumbling, And if he were to ask you, what did I just say? You would be thinking in your head, oh crap, I was not listening. I have no idea what he said. I have been there so many times, it does not feel good. These moments, they are golden opportunities for real connection. Picture your husband's face like lighting up when you actually look up, make eye contact with him, laugh at the meme or the reel that he wants to share with you. Even if it's just sharing something small like that, or maybe he's telling you a quick story, maybe he's venting about work to you. The Gottman Institute calls these moments bids for connection, and the more that we ignore them, the more likely we are to be unhappy in our relationship. This is a big deal, a really big deal. Imagine if these moments became opportunities to feel truly heard and seen by each other. So you are not just somebody who's scrolling on your phone, you are choosing to be a wife who creates moments of connection. And of course, you cannot possibly turn toward every bid for connection, and the more that you can turn toward, the better. It's even connecting to say something like, I really need to zone out for a bit, and then I can be so present to sit with you or chat with you. Most of us are on our phones all day long. And there are so many moments where this little device is stealing our connection. Now, I know what might be going through your mind as I say these things, but Lindsay, my husband's always on his phone, or he's the one who rushes out without saying goodbye. I hear you. I so hear you, like truly, really, because most partners are usually doing these daily habits that eat at your connection. Here's the thing though. Since he's not the one watching this video right now, unless he is, hey, but if he's not, you have the power to start shifting this pattern. I have seen so many times with the women that I work with and in my own relationship, when one person starts making changes, something amazing happens. Even though you're the one doing it, you start feeling more connected, which naturally makes you feel more open and loving, which helps him feel more appreciated. And suddenly he's looking up from his phone too. He's gonna go out of his way to kiss you goodbye. This ripple effect of connection between the two of you, it starts with one person showing up and doing things differently. And speaking of small changes creating big shifts, this next habit is actually hiding in the most ordinary moments of the day. The quiet routine moments that seem so normal you might not even notice them anymore. But these everyday moments, they might be creating more distance than you realize. The third habit is something that is so easy to fall into, especially if you've been together for a long time. We stop noticing and appreciating the everyday things that our partner does. You know, those seemingly little things he does, like taking out the garbage before it overflows, or maybe after it overflows. Maybe he's unloading the dishwasher regularly. He makes your coffee in the morning just the way you like it. He spends hours doing yard work in the sun on the weekends. Over time, these things start to become invisible. We start expecting them. We start taking them for granted because we are human. We start considering them the bare minimum that a functioning human should do, and we barely even see them. And here's what's wild. We notice immediately when they don't happen. But when they do happen, silence. And that silence, it doesn't just create distance, it starts breeding resentment. First in him because he feels unseen, then in you because he stops doing those things because he doesn't feel seen, and then you're thinking like, oh, see, I knew I couldn't count on him. And suddenly you're both caught in this cycle where neither of you feels appreciated. According to the Gottman Institute, feeling unappreciated is one of the biggest things that leads to resentment and contempt in relationship. Think about it. How do you feel when, day by day goes by and no one seems to notice all of the things that you're doing? So the good news is, of course, you can totally shift this in a way that results in you feeling seen and appreciated too, which is the best. When you start intentionally looking for and noticing things to appreciate and expressing that, even something as simple as saying, thank you for making my coffee, it makes my morning so much better. Or, I noticed you took care of the yard today, I appreciate that you always handle that, it looks so good. You create moments of connection that build up over time. There are so many moments that we can appreciate in the day, so many. And the more appreciated and seen he feels, the more likely he is to keep doing those things, look for other ways to contribute, and start telling you what he appreciates. I'm very handsy today, if you're watching on YouTube. Very handsy. So just imagine, you're coming home to a husband who feels valued, who contributes without complaining, who notices and appreciates all the things that you're doing. That's what starts happening when we break this habit. I have seen this when I work with women and they get really intentional about appreciation. It's a game changer. And there's actually a way to show appreciation that hits so much deeper than just I appreciate or thank you. It is quick and it really, really, really levels up and increases the chances that your husband will actually really feel it, for one, and that he's going to start saying it to you. I created a free guide called the Superpowered Appreciation that shows you exactly how to do this. Just drop the word super in the comments here on YouTube and I will share it with you. And keep watching because there are more common habits that are destroying marriages. But pop that word super in the comments first because, oh my gosh, this totally levels up the chances of him feeling seen and you getting that appreciation that you so deserve. Okay, so this next habit, this is something that I see trip up even the strongest couples. And it usually sounds something like, if he really loved me, he would just know what I need. You know those moments when you're having a really rough day and you wish that instinctively he would just give you a hug? Or when you're feeling totally overwhelmed with the mental load and you think he should see how stressed I am and just take something off my plate. Or maybe you're kind of giving him the cold shoulder. You feel hurt by something that he said, you're pulling away, and you're thinking he should notice that I'm pulling away and that I'm upset, and he should know why, and he should apologize. I've literally done, that was a true story right there. I've done all of these things. And I remember years ago being so upset after a hard day at work because he didn't hug me. He just stood there listening, but he didn't come in for the hug. And here's the thing, we have all been fed this romantic story that true love means being able to read each other's minds. And if somebody, really knows us, they really love us, that they should just know, they should just show up and get you in all the ways, all the time. But this expectation, it's setting both of you up for disappointment and resentment. And it often leads to an exhausting cycle where you're dropping hints, then you're feeling hurt that he doesn't pick up on them, and then getting even more upset because now I have to spell it out for him and it doesn't feel good. So the truth is your partner is not a mind reader, which would be super lovely, of course, but they're not. And when we expect them to be, we're actually missing opportunities for deeper connection. I used to wake up on certain special days of the year and feel super disappointed when there weren't flowers waiting for me. But flowers aren't my partner's thing. He was showing me love in his way, acts of service and quality time. He was making me breakfast. He created intentional time for us to be together. I didn't tell him back then that I would have loved to have woken up to flowers. So the good news is there's so much power in simply saying what you need. I had a really hard day. I would love a hug. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Can you handle dinner tonight so I can relax for a bit? Even saying, I would love flowers for my birthday. This kind of clear communication might not feel as romantic as mind reading, but it creates something so much better, both of you being set up for success and connection. And if you're thinking, well, it doesn't mean as much if I have to tell him, I actually see this really differently. If I tell my partner that I would love flowers and he gets them for me, oh my gosh, how amazing is that? He heard me, he remembered, he did something that wouldn't be his go-to thing to do because he loves me. That doesn't feel less romantic to me. It feels like loving with attention, ding, 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 yay. So it's such a gift. It's such a gift. And speaking of telling our partners what we would love, let's talk about what we often do instead of that. And to be real with you, I was the queen of this next habit, and I don't say that proudly. This is the last habit. You are super frustrated with your husband. Maybe you just had an argument and you can't believe how much he was overreacting, or maybe you tried to tell him your feelings and he told you to relax, or you just spent the whole weekend busting your butt, cleaning, getting all ready for the week, and all he did was watch sports and he didn't say a thing. Instead of trying to talk to him about it, where do you go? I'll tell you where I went. I literally went to 7 different people. No joke. I had my mom, my sister, and multiple friends that I would talk to. I was basically running a full-time focus group about my relationship issues. And every time something would happen, I would cycle through my roster of people to vent to. I'm cracking jokes about it now. But, oh my goodness, this hurt us so much. And before I say what damage it causes, let me bring in so much love and so much compassion for me and for you if you do this. These people love us that we talk to. They validate our feelings. They're on our side. It feels so good in that moment to hear them say, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said that. And then you get that rush of validation and support. Plus, sometimes we tell ourselves we're just processing or getting advice. But here's what I didn't realize I was doing. Every time I vented to someone else, I was creating distance in my relationship, breaking trust, hurting us. I was also creating this whole narrative about our relationship in somebody else's mind. They were only hearing the hard stuff, the frustrations, the complaints, his unhealthy patterns that I was sharing. And let's be honest, by the time I was done venting to everyone else, that's literally all I could think about. Venting to friends and family reinforces the behavior we don't like. It causes us to fixate on it. And when we fixate on something, our brain goes, oh, this is important to you. And when our brain knows something is important to us, it goes out of its way to find more of that thing. So this is just like that classic example, and I've used it before, where you go buy a new car and suddenly you see that car everywhere on the road. You researched the car so much, which means you told your brain, this is important to me. So now it makes those cars pop out at you when you're on the road. They were there all along, but now your brain is actively searching for them. So venting to our friends is actually training our brain to look for crappy behaviors from our partner. True story. And then we see those behaviors, of course, and then we feel worse, and then we show up with our own unhealthy patterns. It is a downward spiral. Remember how we talked about appreciation earlier? This works exactly the same way. When we start intentionally looking for things to appreciate about our partner, guess what? Our brain goes, oh, this is what's important to you. And then it starts showing us more of those things to appreciate. So just like those cars suddenly appearing everywhere, you start seeing that there's so much to appreciate. It is an upward spiral of goodness. And I love an upward spiral. So we have a choice. We can either train our brain to look for all the things that frustrate us by venting about them constantly, or we can be intentional about where we put our focus and who we process with. And I would never say that it's not important to talk to friends about your relationship. It's not realistic. It's often not healthy. We are human creatures who connect. And there's a huge difference between processing something difficult with 1 or 2 trusted friends that your husband actually knows you share with and talking to everyone and their dog about your problems. Also, there are much more healthy ways to bring up rather than just venting and complaining. When I made this shift in my relationship, definitely noticed the difference. Not only did my relationship improve, but those people who used to be my venting buddies, they started seeing my partner differently too. They got to hear about the sweet things that he did and the ways that he showed up and the progress that we were making together. And now that's pretty much all I talk about. And that's exactly what I want for you too. Breaking these patterns takes intention. All of these habits I talked about today. And it can feel hard if things are feeling really hard right now, or if you're feeling super disconnected. It can feel vulnerable. It can feel uncomfortable. But that discomfort has nothing on the pain of watching your marriage slowly fall apart because of these habits that we so innocently end up doing in our relationship. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. I know it's hard to go first, and you're here and your change creates change. You can do this, and you do not have to start with everything all at once. I've seen women start feeling more connected by just shifting one of these habits, and quickly. It is the best. Let us just quickly recap the habits that destroy marriages over time. Rushing through hellos and goodbyes instead of making these high impact moments count. Staying glued to our phones during potential moments of connection. Taking the everyday things for granted instead of showing genuine appreciation. Expecting mind reading techniques instead of clearly communicating what we would love. And number 5, venting to lots of friends. So which one of these habits are you ready to break for your intentional action this week? What is one small step that you can take to start showing up differently in your marriage? This is how change happens, by taking the next aligned step. So you know that superpowered appreciation guide that I mentioned earlier, just drop the word super in the comments if you haven't yet to grab it, because here's the truth. When you start showing up with intentional appreciation in the specific way that I share in this guide, it creates a ripple effect that helps break all of the habits we talked about today. You will naturally find yourself more present during hellos and goodbyes. You'll be less focused on your phone. You'll be communicating more clearly, and you'll have way less to vent to your friends about. And you'll be feeling more connected, appreciated, and seen by your husband. Wins all around. You are so amazing for wanting to create a happier relationship. Thank you so much for hanging out today. And the video on the screen is a deep dive into how to talk to your friends about your relationship in a healthy way. It's a game changer. So remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. So grab that superpowered appreciation by popping the word super in the comments, and let's have such an intentional week.